this is every boss fight in COD Zombies ranked from worst to best. As many of you know, I am the Easter egg guy. That's basically the only thing I do in Zombies, are Easter eggs and boss fights and stuff like that, so I know what I'm talking about with this list. But if you have a different opinion than mine, I will leave a link to this tier list down below in the description. Feel free to fill it out and put it in my Discord. Also, links in the description. In case you somehow don't know how a tier list works, we're taking every boss fight and we're putting it in a tier. We got 5 tiers here. We got the absolute best, amazing, solid, meh, and trash. These names will probably change, I don't know. And with that being said, let's go ahead and pick a map at random. Horizon Drac, okay. This is a pretty good first pick. I don't know where I want to put it. I think it's gonna go in meh. No, I'm kidding. It's the absolute best. For the longest time, this was Treyarch's best boss fight. And to this day, it's their second best boss fight. But Horizon Drac has about as good a boss fight as you can make. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but if you're not paying attention, you can easily die in it. And that's what I feel like the majority of COD Zombies boss fights are missing. Now, I'm gonna sound like a bit of a hypocrite because of what I just said about Horizon Drac, but the opposite is true for the Beast from Beyond. Literally one of the worst boss fights of all time. As of right now, I think it's gonna end up being number 2, like the second worst boss fight, but we'll have to wait and see. You start the boss fight, you have to kill 4 rhinos, then you have to kill like 100 cryptids, and then you have to train a bunch of cryptids and rhinos around the map, turn off some computers, and then train more around the map for like 2 minutes, and then the final part of this boss fight are literally just 2 bullet sponges. It legit takes so much work to kill these guys. And I know you can do the EBR strat, but even then, the EBR is not that good before this part in the fight, so they're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Regardless though, terrible boss fight. I should also mention that I'm ranking these based off of both my personal enjoyment of them and how good I feel the boss fight is structured. The 9 Elephant. Now, even though this is a pretty easy boss fight, it is a really cool boss fight. Does it go in amazing? No, I don't think it does. I'm gonna put it in solid. That may change, but as of now, it's going in solid. So, the elephant boss fight consists of you killing a bunch of heavy enemies, like gladiators and tigers and stuff, and then the elephant comes out. And you gotta destroy its armor and shoot him in the head. It's pretty hard to die in this fight, honestly. Like, it's a really easy fight. Kinda wish the elephant had a better ranged attack. I feel like that'd make it a little more challenging, but I guess an easy boss fight isn't that bad, considering the other Chaos map that launched with this map has, in my opinion, the hardest Treyarch fight. So, as of now, solid. Shaolin Shuffle's Rat King fight. Does this go in trash? No, because trash is just like the absolute worst of the worst. Whether it's poorly balanced or just a terribly easy fight. I don't think Shaolin's either of these, but it's definitely not solid or better. The main boss fight from Zetsubou no Shima. This is a trash boss fight. It's better than Beast, but it's not a good boss fight in any way, shape, or form. The whole Easter egg is literally repairing an elevator so you can go down it to kill the boss. But that's not what this video is about. When you get down there, you have to take the KT-4 and shoot the spores on Takeo's arms. And you just have to train the zombies around a minute or 2 for each one to open up. The boss does 1 attack, it's really hard to get hit by it. If you die by it, it's 100% your fault. And not to mention, if you get stuck on a Thrasher spawning or something and get one shot by the Thrasher, if you lose your KT-4, it's literally impossible to win this fight. It's the only weapon that can damage the boss. Terrible design. The Legion fight from Cold War Zombies. Man, we're getting a... What did I just do? If I'm gonna be honest, it's a really good fight. It's definitely the best fight in Cold War Zombies, without a doubt. Does it go in the absolute best, though? I don't think it does. The Legion fight is by far the hardest fight in Cold War Zombies, without a doubt. Like I said, it's by far the best one in that game as well. There's one major problem with the Legion fight, and no, it's not the timer. The timer's actually a good thing, because it's all psychological. If you don't pay attention to the timer, you can fail 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 times, and still have enough time to beat the Legion. My only problem with this fight is the fact that I feel like the Legion does not do enough attacks. One of the biggest problems in COD Zombies boss fights is the boss is not your main threat. Most of the time, like in the Legion fight, like in the Elephant fight, like in the Takeo fight, you're not even paying attention to the boss. You're just trying to make sure the zombies don't kill you, which at that point you're basically playing normal COD Zombies, but with a slightly tougher enemy. It doesn't feel like an actual boss fight. Although the Legion does feel like an actual boss, he still doesn't attack as frequently or as strongly as I feel he should. but Cold War Zombies is a noob-friendly game after all, so guess I can't hold that against it. The Panzer Mortar from the Final Reich, World War II Zombies. Also, this is a sick picture by Rizzo, can I just say. Absolutely insane. I feel like the Panzer Mortar is a solid fight. It's not a bad fight, but it's not really a good fight either. I mean, it was a solid start for World War II Zombies, and man, did that not last long. But the fight's pretty good. You gotta shoot the lights on the blimp to drop a battery, charge the battery, and place it on the Panzer Mortar. You gotta do that 3 times to win. It's a pretty straightforward fight, pretty easy fight, but I wouldn't call it a bad fight. Here we go. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like I said, the Final Reich was a solid start, but the World War II Zombies dev team just fell on their face for the rest of the DLC season. Or for most of the DLC season. There's another good boss in this game. More on that later. But this ain't it. I don't think it belongs in trash. I'm gonna put it in meh. For the Stadtjäger boss fight, you gotta go up in the blimp and fight this really cool designed enemy. Like, no matter what I'm about to say about the gameplay, his design is badass. But unfortunately, aesthetics can only take a boss fight so far, as the actual gameplay for this is pretty stupid. There's 3 phases in this fight. The first phase, you gotta shoot him to make him charge at you, then you gotta shoot his glowing spot while he's charging at you. You only have like 2 or 3 seconds every time he charges at you to do damage to him, so this drags on so much longer than it needs to. For phase 2, it's the exact same thing as phase 1, except the worst enemy in COD Zombies history gets spawned by him. I don't even know what they're called. We're just gonna call them the Tormentors for now, because I don't remember what they're called, but they're basically Cold War's Tormentors. These guys are like transit super sprinters, and they deal normal damage to you. They run faster than you, all in a game where you have to keep buying armor, which is your Juggernog that you cannot refill in most of the World War II boss fights. It's just terribly designed. Actually terrible. And yes, I know you can get an extra heart or 2 back with that, with the dagger or whatever it is. I don't even remember. But I just remember when I was doing every Easter egg in Zombies for a video a couple years back, I died on this boss fight so many times. All because of how badly designed World War II Zombies is. Which, speaking of every Easter egg in Zombies history, across the month of December, I will be streaming beating every Easter egg in Zombies history live on stream. So, if you guys want to see those live streams, you guys want to see me rage, potentially break controllers, punch TVs, I don't know what's gonna happen. When I have to play Transit and World War II Zombies and Beasts from Beyond, anything is possible. So you don't want to miss it. So make sure you click the like button, subscribe if you're new, and click the bell icon to get all notifications. And yes, I did just sneak in asking you for a like. You should like the video. Alright, next boss fight. Blood of the Dead's boss fight. Now, as the single biggest BO4 fan and the single biggest Blood of the Dead fan, I gotta tell you, this is a terrible fight. It's so stupid. Like, for as hard as Blood of the Dead's Easter egg is, this boss fight should not be this easy. This is like a Firebase Z Easter egg boss fight. Like, could you imagine if we had a Mephistopheles difficulty level of boss at the end of Blood's Easter egg instead of this? That would be absolutely insane, but the boss fight on Blood sucks. You gotta kill 12 Wardens, which is really easy with either the Sweeper or the Magmagat or even the Vitriolic Withering. And then you gotta wait for Richtofen to come back up and stun the Giant Warden so you can kill the 13th one. And that's the whole boss fight. You can literally beat it in like 3 minutes. The first ever boss fight in Zombies history. Oz, the GOAT. Now, like I said, this is the first ever boss fight in Zombies history, but I wouldn't call it a bad boss fight. I don't even know if I'd call it a meh boss fight. I think it goes in solid. So this boss fight consists of 2 phases. Phase 1, you gotta shoot the 4 windows in this boss fight arena to stop us from getting access to Atlas technology and all. I don't know. It's been so long since I played this map. And that part's pretty solid, and then a couple rounds later, you'll be kicked back into this boss fight arena where you gotta kill the mutated Oz, which is basically just turning on the 4 power switches 4 times and luring him in the center and shooting him a little bit. It's a pretty formulaic boss fight, but for the first boss fight in Zombies history, they didn't do a bad job. I'm gonna add an extra tier, and it's gonna be called Never Played, because there are 2 boss fights in Zombies history that I have not played. Those being the Acorn boss fight from Vanguard Zombies, and whatever this Dragon Worm thing is called from Modern Warfare 3. Didn't play either one, so we're just gonna leave them there. Next boss fight. Oh my god. Trash. The worst boss fight in Zombies history is this right here. terrible. I'm not even gonna mess with y'all with this. This is legitimately the single worst boss fight in Zombies history. It might be one of the worst boss fights in gaming history, honest to God. So in order for you to understand just how terrible this boss fight is, I gotta explain how the Darkest Shore works. So periodically when you're playing the Darkest Shore, the map can randomly become so foggy it makes transit look visible. And only when there's fog in the map is when the boss can spawn, the Moisture. And he's already a big enough pain when you're playing the map normally, but in the boss fight, you have to deal with 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, no, 4 of these super roided up mecha moisturers. I don't even remember what they're called. They are basically the blue rhinos on Beast from Beyond, except instead of 2, there's 4, and there's 4 phases to this fight, not just 1, and it's impossible to see in almost all of them. And the only phase that you can actually see what the hell's going on, you have to deal with a Brenner, which is an extra boss. You have to deal with random fire shooting out of the ground beneath you that can erase your armor so fast. And which, by the way, did I talk about the fact that you can't get armor in this boss fight until you beat this very unfair section? The only way people beat this boss fight is by bringing an infinite ammo specialist with mods that increase their damage when they're using infinite ammo. If that wasn't in the game, this would probably be the hardest boss fight in Zombies history. And it still is one of the hardest boss fights in Zombies history, but not for any good reasons. The Darkest Shore is literally the worst Zombies map of all time, and funnily enough, it also has the worst Easter egg and the worst boss fight of all time. Fuck you, Darkest Shore. I've composed myself, I've gathered myself together. I think I can continue on with this video. The Echo fight from Shinonuma Reborn. Didn't even remember what map this was from. Tells you all you need to know about it. You basically gotta kill enemies inside a circle until she reveals herself, then you just gotta spray her in the face with your shotgun. Do that 3 times and then that's the boss fight, but it's not a good boss fight, by any means. It's trash. The Shadows of Evil boss fight. Again, Shadows is my favorite map of all time, but that's not gonna stop me from saying this boss fight is not good. It's gonna go at the very bottom of meh for now. And let's get the Shadows boss fight part 2 on here as well. It goes right above Shadows because it's literally the same thing as Shadows, just trap the Shadow Man. Except you gotta charge a summoning key and stop yourself from being attacked from a Panzer and a Margwa. Literally the only difference. I was debating on whether or not I even wanted to include this boss fight, because it's not really technically a boss fight, but it's not that bad, honestly. I hated this back in the day, but it's kind of fun now. I'm gonna put it at the top of meh. It's about the only enjoyable part in Tag's Easter egg, so there you go, Tag the Toten. I finally said something nice about you. You happy? The Spider Boss from Zetsubo. I'll put this in amazing, although it might get bumped down to solid. We'll see, we'll see. Pretty simple, but it's pretty fun. The Tortured Path Guardian fight. Now, as far as I know, this is the only place where this boss is in the game. He's not in any other map in any other way, as far as I know. And it's a pretty fun fight. It's this big beefy dude running at you, and you gotta shoot him to damage him. And when you deal enough damage to him, he'll run to the center of the map to try and drink some blood to replenish his health. It's a really cool fight. The Avogadro fight from Alpha Omega. Honestly, this isn't a bad fight, especially because in my free time, I've been running the Black Ops 4 Ether Super Easter Egg. And for that Super Easter Egg run, you have to play Alpha Omega on Realistic. And on Realistic, the Alpha Omega boss fight is so much fun. Like, I'm tempted to put it in the absolute best. But most people aren't playing it on Realistic. They're playing it on normal. And in normal difficulty, this boss fight's pretty meh. Yeah, when you have basically no health, and you have the Avogadro shooting at you constantly, and you have super fast zombie spawns, which that's the reason why we play on Realistic, is because the boss fight spawns so many more zombies on Realistic. But in normal, meh. Attack of the Radioactive Thing. It's an okay fight. I think it goes... No. It goes right above Shaolin. The werewolf fight from Dead of the Night. Does this go in amazing? Yeah, it does. It's a good boss fight that unfortunately basically recycles the same phase twice, but I'll take it for what it is. It's definitely one of the better Cherok fights, for sure. Garad Krovi's boss fight. Best of the best. Is it above Horizon Drac? I don't think it is. But Garad's boss fight is almost perfect. The Draken fight's pretty fun, but the Nikolai fight is so much fun if you don't just pop and idolize. It is one of the best boss fights in Zombies. Going from one of the best to one of the worst though, next map, Firebase E. This boss fight can literally be completed in 2 seconds. If you load in with an RPG in Ring of Fire, you can just spray down the order and legit kill him in less time than it took me to complete this sentence. And even if you don't cheese it with that, it's still not a good fight. The boss doesn't move, the boss isn't the threat, it's a very easy boss fight, and it's not a good boss fight either. Speaking of which, Forsaken. Does this go in trash? Yeah, it does. Man, can you see a theme with the tier list so far? A lot of COD Zombies boss fights, ain't it? Forsaken's boss fight is basically 3 phases of the same thing. Charge the turret, expose the weak point on the boss, and shoot it with the turret, and that's it. The Tortured Path Brenner Easter egg. From what I remember of this fight, it's actually not that bad. I think I'm gonna put it at the bottom of solid. I've seen worse, that's for sure. It's basically the Brenner from the Final Reich, but with a protective bubble that you have to destroy every now and again. Pretty good, pretty good. The Machine, also trash. This goes even lower than Firebase Z, because it is literally impossible to fail this fight. Well, I guess technically you could die, but there's no like wipeout attacks that you have to watch out for. There's no attack that you have to watch out for. Every now and again you'll have to kill a Megaton, but outside of that, it's protecting an enemy that has infinite HP that can literally not die. Absolute snooze fest. Voyage of Despair's boss fight. This is the best boss fight in Treyarch history, without a doubt. Better than Garad and better than Der Eisendrache. It's also the hardest Treyarch boss fight. Phases 1 and 2, you basically just gotta kill Blightfathers and Stokers until the Eye is happy and lets you move on to the next phase. Starting from Phase 3 though, you gotta watch out for the Eye's attack. Phase 3, it's not that bad. Phase 4, he attacks more often. In the 5th and final phase, he gets a wipeout attack that can instantly kill you if you're not paying attention. This boss has so much health that this boss fight's almost impossible unless you're using the Hellion or the Kraken or the Spitfire. It's actually insane. Rave and the Redwoods. Nah, who am I kidding? This boss fight sucks. It's terrible. It is one of the longest boss fights in Zombies, and it's not fun. Charging 3 soul boxes, luring a big slow enemy into said soul box area, and then shooting him 15 times every 10 seconds. You gotta do that 3 times, and by the time you finish this boss fight, you've been playing for 10-15 minutes, and it's a snooze fest. If it was challenging in 15 minutes, that's completely different. That would be amazing. But if it's 15 minutes of boredom, just why? Final 5 fights in COD Zombies history. Let's go ahead and get the alien out the way now. Yes, I am saving the devil for last. Does this go in the best? I don't think it does. It's gonna go at the very top of amazing. The alien fight is really hard, especially if you're not using Director's Cut and you got the unpacked wonder weapons. This is 15 minutes of intensity and fun. In stark contrast to what Raven of the Redwoods is. Spaceland, the boss is the actual threat, and you have a pretty small area to work with in this boss fight as well. The alien can randomly teleport, he can summon zombies, he can do an attack that stuns you and does like half your damage. It's a crazy fun fight. Even on Director's Cut, it's still not free. The alien fight would be the best boss fight in Infinite Warfare Zombies if it wasn't for another one, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The God King from the, almost said the Final Reich. From the Frozen Dawn. Goes right there and amazing. In between the Legion and the Werewolf. Now it's one thing if you're cheesing this boss fight, but if you're playing it normally, it's actually a pretty fun fight, and he has a lot of cool attacks. I've never beaten this boss fight personally without cheesing it. I just haven't cared enough to, but I have watched people beat this legit, and it does look like a really fun fight. Ancient Evil's Pegasus/Perseus fight. Yeah, I think it goes right behind the alien. This boss fight is great. From the aesthetic, to the boss fight layout, to the boss fight format, to the special way you have to kill the bosses in this boss fight. I don't think we see this anywhere else in Zombies, where you have to use your specialist to take out the boss. And every time that you fail to take out the boss, the round advances one, which I don't know why I had to say that, but there you go. If you don't like BO4 and you want to give it a shot, this is the Easter egg I recommend you play. Valentina from Cold War Zombies. I don't think this belongs in Amazing. Does it? Yeah, it does. It goes at the very bottom of amazing. Actually, move the spider down to solid. He's way too high. Valentina's fight is really good. It's just a little formulaic for my taste. Basically, you gotta go to an area, pop your ring of fire and shoot her, go to the other area, pop your ring of fire, shoot her, go to the other area, pop your ring of fire, shoot her, go to the other area. Okay, I'll stop this now. But you gotta do that 5 times in total to beat this boss fight. And the first time or two, it's pretty fun, but by the 4th or 5th time, you're like, yay, let's do this again. Sit inside my purple circle. It's definitely a good boss fight for Cold War standards though. But last and finally not least, the best boss fight in Zombies history, the Mephistopheles super Easter egg boss fight from Infinite Warfare Zombies. There's no debate about this. If you've played this fight, you know that this is easily, hands down, the best fight in Zombies history. You got 6 phases in this boss fight, and to beat the first 5 phases, you gotta stand in a circle to charge up the souls. The catch is, the boss will spam attacks at you, and I mean spam them at you. If you can stay in a circle for more than 10 seconds without moving, consider yourself lucky. Then after you charge up the souls, you gotta shoot a couple at the boss, and then he'll teleport in the middle, you shoot the blue symbol on his chest, and then he'll do a lockdown where you gotta kill some zombies and a few special enemies. Now I know this kinda sounds formulaic, but what stops it from feeling that way is every phase gets increasingly more difficult than the previous one. Starting from phase 2, he can introduce 1 of 3 attacks into the fight. He can split the boss fight arena in half, he can throw a meteor that can instantly kill you, and he can also go in the center and ground pound the middle of the boss fight arena, killing you if you're not hiding behind a pillar. On top of that, every lockdown that you do gets harder with each phase as well. Phase 2 spawns in a slasher from Raven to Redwoods, Phase 3 spawns in teleporting ninja zombies, and Phase 4 spawns in rhinos from Beasts from Beyond. And then in the 5th phase, he can introduce a fire tornado attack, which is just absolutely insane. And when you get to the final phase of this boss fight, you gotta shoot the boss and deal enough damage to him to raise all 5 talismans around the boss fight arena. Now during this, he can spawn in any enemy in this boss fight, any attack at any time, he can overlap his attacks, and during this you have to pay attention to his every move. If you take your eyes off him for even the smallest amount of time, he will throw an attack down that will instantly kill you. Definitely the hardest boss fight in Zombies history, and definitely the funnest boss fight in Zombies history, and also the best boss fight in Zombies history. I really hope we get some insane super Easter egg boss fight in COD 2024, because this is the best boss fight in Zombies history, and it's probably gonna stay that way for the rest of the time, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see in COD 2024. So this is my final ranking for every single boss fight in Zombies history from worst to best. Do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you're new. What other tier lists do you guys want to see in the future? Let me know your ideas in the comments as well. And why don't you go watch this video where I beat the Voyage of Despair Easter egg with a 1-hit down. Even if you don't like Voyage of Despair, it's a very entertaining video that you will love. I guarantee it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.